What is Agile supposed to do for a team? Are there specific benefits that it's supposed to provide? Why do so few teams end up experiencing those benefits or outcomes? Welcome to Agile Team Foundations with Barry Hawkins. Please be sure to like and subscribe. This video series is based on training that I've delivered over the years, both as a game and product development leader building teams internally, and as a consultant helping clients establish or evolve their approach to development process. In this episode, I'll look at the 4 key outcomes that an effective Agile process is meant to provide for teams. The first key outcome an effective development process is meant to provide is to help a team cultivate an understanding of its capacity. One of the most anxiety-inducing things for individuals and teams to have to do is to estimate what the level of effort is for a given body of work. In the structure and flow of an Agile development process, the intent is that in having a uniform repeated cycle where a team takes a body of uncertain work, estimates it, pulls it into a batch, executes that, and then evaluates how that went. Doing that over and over again, over time, they build more of an understanding of, on average, how much of that schedulable work can they get through. And having that knowledge and that understanding then helps them look at bigger things that will span multiple cycles and begin to project and plan with a greater degree of comfort than if they were merely being asked at the outset of a project, how long is all this stuff that you have no idea about going to take? In the course of looking at their scheduled capacity, they also come to understand how much of their capacity, cycle over cycle, tends to go toward interrupt-driven work or non-scheduled, non-planned activity. And this can be a really great thing for a team in terms of health and effectiveness because so much of the training and information out there instructs a team to simply only look at the schedulable work. And the trouble with the schedulable work is, and looking at only at that, is that there's always some amount of interrupt and unplanned work. And if you are not looking at that, then you can have a batch of scheduled work that you've planned and the team might think, or someone outside the team might think, that seems kind of small, or it seems like you're not using all of the capacity that you have. And that's very likely true, but it's not a lack of effectiveness or laziness or sandbagging on the team's part, but rather it's because there's always some amount of interrupt-driven work that a team incurs in any given development cycle. A second key outcome with effective Agile development process is to build cohesion within the team. That is a sense of belonging and a sense of shared purpose together as a group of people. Having clear team charters, that is, this team exists for this reason and they are the primary owners over this product or this part of the product, providing that underscores that this team has a purpose. They're not just a random assemblage of people thrown together by some mid or upper level manager who loves drawing org charts. And so the way that people are expected to interact with one another, that is, having open dialogue and everyone being involved in planning a cycle, in grooming or maintaining their backlog, in talking about the success criteria of a given story, and in coming up with the level of effort estimate that accounts for not just what engineering or not just what the primary discipline is doing, but all of the functional disciplines that it takes to move that idea from concept to live. In hearing from and developing empathy and understanding for your fellow team members, it generally leads to fostering that greater sense of cohesion, which is a good thing. The third key outcome of an effective Agile process is that it preserves agency. And by agency, I mean the voice of every individual on the team in how they approach their work, how they discuss, identify, estimate, and break down their work. This is incredibly important in order for Agile to deliver on its stated promises. Let's look at why. It's been fashionable at various points over the years to have leaders and organizations talk about empowered teams and empowered people. One of the ways that people can be legitimately empowered is if we ensure that they have agency. You have agency when you're able to be given a body of work, or your team is given a body of work, and you individually within your discipline and you as a group that's going to do the work together are able to say, this is how we intend to approach the work, and this is the level of effort that we believe it will take. And of course, you're open to feedback and dialogue and clarifying questions, but at the end of the day, you're still deciding for your work as an individual and your work together as a team, how the work is going to be approached and what the level of effort is. Problems arise when people in authority over individuals or teams begin to tell them, you will do the work this way and it will take you this long, often dictating duration, not even level of effort. The trouble there is that absolutely robs people of agency. And the normal, healthy human response to coping with a lack of agency is to detach oneself from the quality of the outcome. So if you tell them it has to be done this way by this date or by this point in the afternoon, then when you come and look at that work, it's most likely not going to meet expectations. And if any of them feel empowered enough to tell you, they'll say, yes, that's exactly what you get when you tell me that I have to do it this way in this amount of time. So in agility, the reason that we have everyone together when we plan a cycle and when we do a daily stand-up and when we look at the backlog and when we review the outcome of the work for a given cycle and have a retrospective together, we're all together and listening to one another and ensuring that every voice is being heard, because that's how we ensure that people are able to exercise and experience legitimate and authentic agency in teams. And so all team stewards and product stewards should be working diligently, and even team members as well, to ensure that the agency of their fellow team members is being preserved. The last key outcome with an effective Agile process is that it should help a team nurture critical thought about team effectiveness. That is, when we come to the end of a development cycle and the work is being reviewed or we're having our retrospective, it's not all smiles and high fives for the work we did complete and then disappointed dad face for the work we didn't complete, but rather looking at the cycle holistically and saying, here's the work we projected, here's what actually got completed or did not, and what did we learn from that, and how are we doing at being a team? It's why effective cycle retrospectives are so crucial to an effective Agile process, because the core loop to any empirical process control system has three key pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. The transparency comes in the visibility and collaboration we provide during the development cycle. But in the retrospective for the team, the inspection and adaptation, the core of it happens there in the retrospective. And so when we have the retrospective, it's not a gripe session about the world and everything we think is wrong with the company that's outside of our control, but rather a focused discussion on how are we doing as a team and how did it go this cycle, and further, what experiments might we try in the upcoming cycle to become better and more effective at working together as a team. So, why do so few teams experience these benefits? It's very common for the development process of a given team to be largely informed by something that their team steward or scrum master, dev manager, what have you, received at their certification training, or some course or something they heard online, or something that they read in the online documentation of their tool vendor. And unfortunately, so much of the literature and certification that's out there focuses on the discrete mechanics and imitating a series of mechanics without actually understanding the philosophy and the mindset behind all of the different parts of an Agile development cycle. As with any craft, if you're merely imitating or reciting steps without understanding, you're not going to experience the intended results. Another factor that greatly inhibits the team being able to experience these outcomes is that the leadership and or culture of an organization is actually at odds with the kinds of empowerment and trust and collaboration that's intended in these processes. So they set about trying to leverage these things only to find that the very people with whom they need to have or build that trust and have or build agency and that collaboration are simply not up for pursuing that together, because that's not how things work at that organization, and that's not how this or that person has built or maintained their base of power and influence over people. Later in the series, we dive into some of the underlying cultural assumptions with an effective Agile development process. So be sure to check out the links in the video for those specific videos in the series. And by capacity, capacity, I just had a burp from the soda that I'm drinking, which I shouldn't have done when I started filming, but there you are, candor. By agency, I mean the voice authentically being empowered. Shit. There are a number of factors that are. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notifications icon so that you'll be first to know when new Agile Team Foundations episodes and other product development videos are uploaded. For the next Agile Team Foundations video in the series, check out the link up here. For the entire Agile Team Foundations playlist, check that out down here. Again, I'm Barry Hawkins. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.